Hey guys, we're back live in the PlayStation E3 2012 booth. I've got some big news and a big guest. We've got Keiji Inafune, who is the conceptor on Soul Sacrifice. Almost slipped my mind there. And we've also got the producer here, Kumi Yuasa. So a little star power, that's why I'm forgetting things. I'm being bedazzled here. Very interesting title here for PlayStation Vita. My first question is, why PlayStation Vita? What made you want to make Soul Sacrifice for PS Vita?
はい、プレステーションビータの性能っていうのが素晴らしいものがあってですね、しかもハンドヘルドでここまで遊べるっていうのは、このソウルサクリファイスを作るにすごくふさわしいハードだっていうことで、選択しました。
Because PlayStation Vita is a high spec, and then it's been a handheld. It's very powerful. That's why this was perfect for Soul Sacrifice. That's why he chose it.
Sounds like a good reason if you ask me. Now, Soul Sacrifice, very intriguing title because, well, I mean, I don't know exactly how to describe it. I got a couple minutes of hands-on. It's in the VIP section, but it's kind of like a dark fantasy RPG. Is that accurate?
それは正しいですか？
そうですね。犠牲と代償をテーマにしたダークファンタジーで、魔法使いが主人公のゲームになってます。
So yes, your assumption was correct. It's a dark fantasy game based on the concept of sacrificing, and then that's the main theme of the game.
Very cool. So this is a game that is a little bit different in terms of the way that you fight and the way that you gain powers. How does it work? I mean, you know, you've spoken a little bit about how the concept of sacrifice ties in, like personal sacrifice ties into this game. What does that mean, and what are the consequences?
そうですね、戦うのはやっぱり爽快なアクションで戦っていくんですけど、敵を倒した時と自分の仲間とか自分自身がやられそうな時にですね、このゲームは大きく違ってきます。敵を倒した時に敵をとどめを刺すっていうのが今までのゲームなんだけど、とどめを刺すのかその敵を助けるのかっていうことを選択できて、仲間を助けるのか仲間を犠牲にして大きな魔法をかけてさらに立ち向かわせるのかと、自分自身が死にそうな時に自分自身を犠牲にして仲間を助けるのかっていう選択を常に強いられるゲームになっています。
So this game, you're always making decisions, and then your decision has a consequence. After you defeat an enemy, you are asked to either choose to sacrifice it or to save it. By saving it, you get different sorcery or power. By sacrificing it, also your appearance changes, and you obtain different powers, and so that's a very different point compared to other games. And so that happens also not only enemies but to yourself or to your NPCs that you're playing with. When you're about to die, your ally might come and help you or sacrifice you. So in that sense, this is a very different game.
Very intriguing. Now I'll tell you one thing just right off the bat that grabs me about Soul Sacrifice: the creature design. Really unusual, freakish, grotesque. Talk to me about the inspiration behind some of these creatures.
そうですね、ファンタジーに出てくる、モンスターをベースにはしてるんですけども、実際にこのモンスターっていうのはもともと人間が欲望でどんどん欲望に負けてどんどん化け物化していくっていうモンスターを表してですね、だから自分の欲望がどういう形で、奇形っていうかですね、異常な形になっていったかっていうことでデザインを構成されているような形になっています。
So the monster design, they're based on some fantasy monsters, but then the big thing about those monsters in this game is that they used to be humans in the past, and then they turned into monsters because they kept on fulfilling their greed and then kept on sacrificing for their own good. That's why they turn into monsters. And that's the backstory of it.
And here's some of the footage from the game for PS Vita, Soul Sacrifice. Really interesting. Look at these creatures. they're really unusual. They're very disturbing. If you want to see more, we actually posted this video on PlayStation Blog this morning. Check it out in HD. But really interesting character design here. But it's not just the character design. Another thing that leapt out at me immediately was the environments. I think the environments are so interesting. Talk to me about where are you? Like, where is this place that you're fighting in? And where does the look come from?
そうですね、本当に人間には欲望があって、その欲望を果たすために何かを犠牲にしてみたいなところがあってですね、それを果たしすぎるとモンスターになってしまうし、そのなったモンスターを倒すために何の欲望でその犠牲にして倒していくかっていう、本当に人と人とのその欲望のその塊みたいな、そういう部分をテーマにしながら、西洋でも東洋でも通用するそのモンスターのデザインみたいなのをしっかりと自分は作り出したっていうふうに思っています。
So all humans, we all have desire and greed, and monster, they used to be humans, like we said, and then but they turned into monsters because they kept on fulfilling their greed, and he took that idea into the designing of the monsters and then also the world setting as well. And
so this concept of sort of greed or of sacrifice or of consequences for this, where did that come from? Was that from something in your real life, or what, is it just a random idea?
犠牲とかそういうのってどういったところからそのアイデアを得たんですか？なんか自分の個人の人生からとか。
そうですね、リアルに物事を考えていくと、常にそれつきまとうものでですね、僕自身もやっぱり大きな会社から辞めて独立してですね、やっぱり大きな会社でいた時には分からないものみたいなところがあってですね、それを大きな会社を犠牲にするっていうぐらいの気持ちで出ていって、そこに得られる代償で新しいゲームを、新しい成功を自分の力で勝ち取ろうっていう、そういうなんか自分の人生と重ね合わせたゲームのデザインみたいなのをしてみたっていう形ですね。
Yes, so this game design is based on his experience in his own life. So he left a big company and then he became independent. So leaving big company, of course he had to sacrifice something for that. So it's definitely the idea is blended into the game design.
I love to see that, and of course, I mean, and that actually goes right to the heart of the game, this sort of reality blended experience. Talk a little bit about that. What does that mean?
そうですね、本当にファンタジーっていうのは架空のものなんですけど、やっぱりファンタジーの世界ではそれがリアルとされてる。でも実際のリアルとこう重ね合わせると、やっぱりそんな強すぎる魔法使いっていうのはおかしくないかっていうことになっていくんで、やっぱり魔法を使うにはやっぱりそれなりの力がいるし、やっぱり強くなるにはそれなりの力がいる。それがやっぱり世の中、普通の世界ではその強くなるためにはお金もいるし、権力もいるしみたいな、すごくやっぱりリアルな嫌な部分っていうのがあると思うんですけど、ゲームの中でもそういう部分をしっかりと、感じ取れるようなゲームシステムがあると、それが本当の真実っていう形になるのかな。だから真実のファンタジーっていう形になると思ってます。
So in most of the fantasy games, you have power from the beginning, and that's the reality in that fantasy world. But then he thought that was not right. So there's no such thing as you have the power from the beginning. If you want the power, you need to offer something. You need to sacrifice in exchange with the power, and that's the idea he wanted to blend in. And in that term, he's calling it reality blended experience into the fantasy world.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that power. What can I do? What powers do I gain, and how do I fight?
このゲームの中で何がどういう攻撃方法？
そうですね。禁術って言って自分の魂を、自分の命を犠牲にして得る魔法があってですね、エクスカリバーっていうのがあって、手を口の中に突っ込んでですね、背骨を引き抜いて、それを武器にして最後の攻撃を加えるっていうものがあります。だから背骨と内臓をセットでですね、こう引き出す力があれば、そういう勇気があれば大きな敵に立ち向かえるっていうような武器とかもこの中には存在します。
So one of the attacks that you have is you can sacrifice your body parts and your life as well. And one of the things is that you can take out your spine and use it, turn it into Excalibur sword. And of course, if you have the big, guts to do that, you can sacrifice something greater, then you can get greater powers. That's the main concept of the game.
Sounds like my kind of game, I'll tell you that. And one more thing I wanted to touch base on. There's a character, I guess you could call it a character in the game. It's this book, this evil book of
そのなんか本
spells.
が出てくるんですけ
Where
れど
does
も、
that come from and
これは
what
一体どこから
role
来たの
does
か、まあ
that
どう
book
いう
play
も
in
の
this
なの
game?
そうですね、主人公自体が、魔法使いに捕まって、牢屋に閉じ込められて魔法使いの生贄になろうとしている主人公なんですね。その主人公が一冊の牢屋で一冊の本を見つけて、その本に書かれている別の魔法使いの物語みたいなのを読むんですね。でその別の魔法使いの物語を読むと、その中に引き込まれていって、その魔法使いの記憶っていうか、それを追体験していける。その本自体が魂を持ってて、その魂に引き込まれて一緒に体験できるっていう本になってます。
So in this game, you're captured in a cell and you're about to be sacrificed in a ritual, and then you stumble upon this book. It appears like suddenly, and then you start reading it, and you realize it's a diary of this past sorcerer. And as you're reading it, you realize that you're reliving what he experienced in that diary. And so that's the main theme of this game, that you basically interact with the book and relive whatever it's written in it.
Great stuff. Definitely at the top of my PS Vita most wanted list. Let me leave you with one final question. When can we look forward to Soul Sacrifice coming to North America on PlayStation Vita?
そうですね、来年2013年の春にですね、この北米で発売したいと思ってますんで、ぜひ期待しててください。
We are releasing it spring next year in North America, so please look forward to it.
Well, that's not too far off, and it's been an honor and a pleasure to have Inafune come on the PlayStation live stream for E3. We'll be back soon with more live demos.